Welcome to the stream. We're going to be talking about this major piece of legislation that Bernie Sanders has proposed, and which in the last couple weeks, but particularly the last 24, 36 hours, has picked up more than a dozen total co-sponsors. And I know single payer isn't going to pass while we have a Republican in the White House, Republicans controlling the Senate, and Republicans controlling the House. I get that. But this is still a major piece of legislation. Number one, because once we finally have it scored, and I'm going to talk about what this thing will cost and tax rates and the like, but once we have a new official scoring, it will sort of set a benchmark for what could be done. And it also really signifies the first time that you've seen this level of major Senate level support of a Medicare for all or single payer bill. So it is a very, very interesting bill, and we're going to be talking about it in detail. A couple things to test. Number one, I've gotten set up with Streamlabs, and there's a couple different things that we are going to be able to do during the live streams with Streamlabs. One is you might be seeing at the bottom of the window right now, you can actually see the chat that's on the side. It's showing up over the video. And that's one thing that is possible to do with Streamlabs. I don't know that that's necessarily something that we want. It is interesting, but I'm going to turn that off for now. But what is enabled are two things. Number one, if you make a super chat now, it will actually pop up on the screen and it will thank you, and there will be an animation, and it will be really, really cool. So super chat is something that you can use to send questions or comments, and when you send a super chat, we're not going to do it. We'll have to wait for the actual super chat. Apparently, if it works correctly, an animation will actually play and it'll thank you for the super chat, and it's all going to be incredibly exciting. The other thing is, someone apprised me last live stream that if I get set up with Streamlabs, people can actually make donations through Streamlabs, and YouTube will not take their cut from the super chat. And you can do that already at streamlabs.com/The David Pakman Show, and the link is in the description for this video. Streamlabs.com/The David Pakman Show, and those will also pop up on screen. I think I can test it. Let's see. I think this is what happens when there's a donation. Let's see if it actually works here. There it is. John donated $65. This is a test donation for $65. I'm hoping that it'll actually work when people do it, because this is just a test. And then if you do a super chat, that will also pop up on screen. There it is. David Pakman Show donated $73 through super chat. Pretty exciting. I'm liking this. And I don't know if it has any kind of integration with Patreon, but we are going to be looking into whether that can be done. And a lot of interesting things should be possible with this. Let's see, what else can I do in terms of, I think that's mostly it. That's what I've got going on right now. And we'll see. We'll see if this stuff works, and I think that it'll be exciting for all. Okay, so let's talk about the Bernie Sanders healthcare bill. Okay, I'm going to go through it basically in three parts. How will it work? How will it affect the current system? That'll be a short discussion, but an important one. And then how will it be paid for, which is obviously one of the main questions whenever you have so-called free stuff from a communist like Bernie Sanders. Let's start with how this will work, okay? Medicare for All bill of 2017. The first or second page, maybe it is, will have a provision which says every individual who is a resident of the United States is entitled to benefits. Now, right-wingers are going crazy because they are saying, wait a second, a resident? What if you're an undocumented immigrant? You are, in a sort of colloquial sense, residing in the United States. So are you entitled to Medicare for all if you're an undocumented immigrant? We don't know the answer to that yet, because as the proposal from Bernie Sanders says, the secretary will decide what the criteria is for determining residency for purposes of eligibility under this act. We just don't know the answer, okay? That is going to be up to the secretary, and it is something that hopefully at some point we will find out about. I'm sure we will, but it is not something we have an answer to right now, okay? Number two, how will this work? How do you enroll? What is the function? How does this all happen? The way it will work is that 4 years after the bill is signed into law, 4 years after the bill is hypothetically signed into law at some undetermined point in the future, it would be phased in for every adult, okay? And within a year of it being signed into law, it would be phased in for individuals under 19, or to say it a different way, 18 or under. And 4 years is a very, very long time to figure this thing out. Plenty of time, so no concerns there whatsoever. People who are born after the enacting of the plan are automatically enrolled at birth. Everybody gets a universal Medicare card. What would be covered? Most things, okay? Most of the things you would imagine would be covered under this plan. Hospital services, that includes inpatient, outpatient, emergency, prescriptions, ambulatory patient services, primary and preventive care, going to your regular doctor, prescriptions and medical devices would be covered, mental health and substance abuse treatment would be covered, labs and diagnostics, meaning blood tests, MRIs, CAT scans, etc. Reproductive, maternity, and newborn care would be covered. Pediatrics would be covered, and oral health, audiology, and vision services would be covered, as well as rehabilitation services, okay? Now, what happens to states' rights when this takes place? What would happen to states' rights if the Bernie Sanders Medicare for All bill were to be enacted? It's very similar to Obamacare, where with Obamacare, if a state already had or wanted to put in place something that exceeded the requirements of Obamacare, they were free to do so. And in the same way, the Bernie Sanders Medicare for All 2017 bill would allow states to put in place systems, single-payer systems, that exceed the requirements of Medicare for All. How would they do that? What would be examples of exceeding the requirements? Well, we'll talk about that on the program tomorrow. There's actually quite an interesting conversation to be had there. Okay, so what happens to the current system we have, where we have mostly employer-connected health insurance, paid for usually in combination between the employer and the employee, although not always. If you're self-employed, you're paying for the entire thing, to for-profit insurance companies. Well, for-profit insurance companies will still be allowed to exist. They'll be allowed to sell plans, but for-profit insurers under the Bernie Sanders proposal would not be allowed to sell plans that have the same benefits as what Medicare will offer. So clearly, this is a major blow to for-profit private insurance. There's no question about it. Private insurers are totally free to offer anything they want to above and beyond what Medicare will cover, but they would not be allowed to say, hey, here's a plan that covers the same stuff as Medicare, except it's a private for-profit insurance plan. Would not be allowed. That will be controversial. That will absolutely be controversial. Questions around the Commerce Clause, questions around other aspects of how that will affect the insurance industry, and questions of people already talking about Constitution, people talking about freedom to transact business. There's a whole bunch of concerns there, okay? And then what's the big matzo ball hanging out there? How is this going to be paid for? And of course, the right is very quick to say, we can't afford it. Somehow we can afford any war on a whim, but we can't afford healthcare for all, which just about every other developed country can. We can't afford it, and it's going to be huge tax increases. Well, listen, yeah, it's going to be paid for by tax increases. The idea being, though, and Canada's a good example of this, the idea being that the tax increases for both employers and employees over the long term will be less than the savings from not having to pay for your employees or your own health insurance, depending on whether you're an individual or an employer. So the math is complex in the sense that we're talking about a major part of the economy, but the concept is simple, which is you eliminate so many levels of bureaucracy and the entire insurance involvement in medical billing. You would still have the government setting rates for what providers would be paid for services and procedures. You would still have the providers billing the government, and that would come out of the Universal Medicare Trust Fund, which would be created, and we'll dig into that more in detail tomorrow. But you eliminate an entire bureaucracy that currently exists, and it's very easy to understand when you think about that, how this would become significantly less expensive, okay? And then, what about how much the tax will go up, right? We actually don't have that information yet. And earlier this week, there was a Washington Post report which says that according to Bernie Sanders' own office, the bill that we now have is the proposal for how the program would work, and that a separate bill is going to determine the cost. Now, there are opponents to this, which, by the way, include both right-wingers, and there are Hillary Clinton supporters all over my Facebook account saying that this is an outrageous plan and that this is part of what Hillary Clinton blamed Bernie for, offering free stuff with no way to pay for it. I would have rather seen how to pay for it included in this bill, but there are legislative reasons why you would separate those two things, and it has to do with appropriations. There are other reasons. A separate bill will tell us how much this is going to cost in terms of tax increases. That being said, there still is reason to believe that we can have a pretty good assessment of what this thing is going to cost. Bernie Sanders, during the campaign, had proposed a Medicare for All bill. And we could look at what that was going to cost. That was scored by the CBO, and the CBO estimated that Bernie's Medicare for All proposal from the campaign, which is not identical to what came out today, but it's similar in a lot of ways, it would cost $1.4 trillion. You would need to put a 2.2% income tax on all Americans and a 6.2% tax on employers, and there would be something above and beyond on the very rich. Okay, so let's think for a second about not the very rich. Let's look at the average. We actually just did a story on today's bonus show. If you don't have the bonus show, you should get the bonus show as either a member or as a patron. We did a story on today's bonus show about how in 2016, we had a household median income of about $59,000, okay? And that was actually one of the higher household incomes, median household incomes of some time, even though broadly speaking, we still do have significant wage stagnation in the US. So for the average family income of $59,000, the 2.2% tax is $1,298 per year. It doesn't take a lot to figure out why that's a pretty good deal for most families. If you think of the average family, I think is the average family size 2.2 or 2, let's even call it 3, right? You've got a couple and one kid. You are very likely paying at least your part of your health insurance, if you have it sponsored through your employer, is going to be several $100s per month, not per year, added to the co-pays that you're paying, added to uncovered benefits, which include often a $2,000 deductible on labs and diagnostics until that's covered, etc. $1,298 for all of your health insurance for the year, and is quite a bit less than what the average family is probably paying. Now, for the employer, you're talking about 6.2%, which works out to about $3,600. Again, that is not nothing, but you would not have to be paying for health insurance premiums based on whether you have employees who are in a family plan or single or whatever. It would really, really simplify. So I actually think that that's quite reasonable if that's what it ends up being. But no, this is not going to pass anytime soon. That's just the reality. It's not going to pass anytime soon, and I don't think anybody's going to be surprised by that. But I look forward to the scoring of this. And I also look forward to the reactions from the right. Will the right attack Bernie's plan on the merits, or will they attack it ideologically, probably inaccurately, but ideologically as nanny state or communism or whatever the case may be? We'll see. We'll probably have some examples of that by tomorrow. Now, this is actually making an impact. This is making an impact, and there are pharmaceutical CEOs who are actually worried about this. I've got an article, let's see if I can pull it up here, bookmarked from The Intercept by Li Fang, who's been on the program several times, which says that Brent Saunders, who's the chief executive of Allergan, it's one of the bigger pharmaceutical companies in the world, he is worried that Americans are going to be, or are already so fed up with the employer-connected for-profit healthcare system that we have, that they are going to really get behind, maybe not this proposal, but a similar proposal that might come out in the future, who knows, and that it's going to be really, really bad for pharmaceutical companies. And when you have, I've not read through the entire article, I will by tomorrow's program because I want to talk about it. When you have pharma CEOs saying, this isn't nothing, I'm genuinely concerned that we might see this garner significant public support, that's new. That's new, and that is very, very interesting to me, and I am curious as to what the next several years are going to bring. Okay, let's do the sort of live stream welcome. This is a live stream. If you've never been on a live stream before, it's basically this. We just hang out and chat, okay? Super Chat is on, and you can use the Super Chat function to send your questions and comments, and we have something now set up through Streamlabs where when you send a Super Chat, you will actually see your name come up with the Super Mario animation. You can do custom animations. I like Mario Brothers games, so I picked this for today. And then that'll come up. Everybody will see it. It'll be incredible and absolutely tremendous. And then I will get to your question or comment. You can also, you might have noticed, look in the description for this live stream, and you will see a link to streamlabs.com/The David Pakman Show. You can send the equivalent to a super chat through Streamlabs, streamlabs.com/The David Pakman Show. It will also come up, and it'll look like this, I guess. There you go. John donated $49. And that's not for questions, just for donations, but YouTube doesn't take a cut. YouTube takes, I never know exactly what it is, but they take a cut of super chats. And you can skip that by going to streamlabs.com/The David Pakman Show. And while I was talking, I think there were a few contributions. Was there? I think Casey Moore. I'm still figuring out this entire thing. Let's see if I look under my donations. Clarth1234 sent the message, no longer getting cucked by Google, $2. Okay, so I actually see it. And right now, Clarth1234 is the top donor because they are the only donor. Producer Pat, someone claiming to use the name Producer Pat, sent a $3.99 donation with the message only vegan power, of course. Now, did that pop up? I can't even keep up with everything that's going on. Can anyone tell me whether there it is. Producer Pat donated $3.99. Now I'm seeing it on a delay. Okay. All right. Well, I think people were just doxxed accidentally. I apologize for any accidental doxing. Okay. So anyway, there's other graphics I could try, and maybe we'll try some of them later, and we'll see how the whole thing goes. What I would really love to do is be able to put up the Patreon contribution target or something like that. I think that would be pretty cool, but I don't really know how to do that. We'll see. We'll see. At some point, I should be able to do that. Oh, and I don't want to give anything away, but it appears that the Producer Pat donation may have actually been Clarth under a pseudonym of Vegan Power. Okay, and then lastly, just I'll go to number 4. Please don't troll. Trolling will get you banned. There are moderators monitoring the chat. And number 3, new members and patrons will get live thank yous and shout outs. You can sign up at davidpakman.com/membership, patreon.com/David Pakman Show. We're trying to get to 2,000 patrons sooner than later. Sooner than later would be good. And we did, I'm not going to bog down with everything, the entire story, but we had a sort of, not a mea culpa because I wasn't taking blame for anything, but I did a sort of heart-to-heart on today's broadcast show, explaining to people sort of where things are with YouTube demonetization. And if you've been following YouTube news at all lately and you're aware of what's going on with PewDiePie and the N-word debacle and even cooking videos and other stuff being demonetized, if cooking videos are being demonetized on YouTube, we're screwed, right? I mean, there is absolutely no way around that, because what we're doing, while I believe is still not controversial, it should absolutely be considered more serious, I guess you would say, than cooking shows. Although cooking is important. Cooking, very, very important. Thanks to Jacob Ball there. Love the animation, who just donated $10 through Super Chat. So anyway, I'll start answering questions here. But please make those contributions. Patreon, membership, thank yous are happening. It's all crazy. It's all crazy. And just as a reminder, I do have this other tool in my quiver, which is that I can put on the chat in the main window, but maybe it's distracting. Like, I don't know what we're gaining. You can just see it on the side. I don't know. Do people like the chat overlay? I don't know that I'm loving it. I'm going to turn it off for now, but we'll keep the donation alerts and the Patreon, the super chat alerts. What would be cool, and I will get into the question soon, would be if there was a way to put the super chats actually up on the screen. I think there is a way to do that with Streamlabs, but I don't yet know how. We'll see. We'll see. If somebody knows how to do that, please tell me, okay? And then I will get that done. Okay, no chat overlay. People don't like it. Let's start with some of these super chats. People do have questions. The D2J Bug has sent a $5 Canadian super chat. I'm having a hard time smurfing the way you smurf. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. Christina has sent a $2 super chat. What is your favorite color? Cerulean. Christina, cerulean is my favorite color. Jacob Ball, I'm kidding, by the way. Jacob Ball sent a $10 super chat. Would it make sense for Democrats to call the tax increase a premium? It would be easier to make the case that you're reducing premiums than to state that you're raising taxes. P.S. Love the graphic. Jacob, I think that, on the program today, I mentioned that a lot of how, whether, and to what extent this plan is attacked by Republicans will depend on a few things. Number one, how much of a threat they see it as. And even though it's a good thing, you'd say, why would you call something that's good a threat? Doesn't really make sense. Depending on how much of a threat Republicans see Bernie's proposal to be, they might attack it more or less. The messaging that Democrats use is absolutely going to be a factor. And I think it is a very interesting idea, and it had not occurred to me to say, this isn't the biggest tax increase in the history of the U.S. or whatever, which, I mean, how we do, it is what it is. We can call it a number of different things. Instead of calling it a tax increase, we call it the biggest reduction in healthcare premiums and the underlying costs as a result of eliminating so many bureaucratic expenses in the history of modern healthcare. And I think that is very, very interesting, Jacob. And in fact, I'm going to make a note of it in my notes for tomorrow. Let me see if I can do that here. And I will quote you, Jacob Ball, idea of biggest decrease in premiums rather than huge tax increase. Yeah, that's very interesting. And I think the messaging is a major, major component. So I am looking forward to checking, to thinking about that and to seeing what the messaging is around a lot of these bills. Bernie's Bootlegs and More has sent a $2 super chat. Would you have a full debate with Ben Shapiro on your show? I don't know what you mean by full debate, but I've said before, I'm glad to talk about a particular topic with Ben Shapiro. And I would be interested in having him on. I don't know that he wants to be on. He's got quite a busy schedule, it seems like. And I'm glad to have him on. I email with him every once in a while. We will shoot an email back and forth about something I saw, something he saw of mine, or whatever. I'm willing to have him on, and I think it would be interesting. I want to thank someone who is donating at streamlabs.com/The David Pakman Show under the name Davids_girlfriend. The amount of $2 with the message, the chat overlay is good if people don't watch live. That's an interesting idea. Can we, I don't know whether, can someone tell me when the donations go through at streamlabs.com/The David Pakman Show, does the message also show up? I'm just not sure whether it does. I don't know whether it does, and that is a little difficult for me to really test or see. I hope it does, because one of the main things about Super Chat is the message. It does. Okay, people are saying it does. Very, very good. So anyway, if you've just joined, we have now set up streamlabs.com/The David Pakman Show. So if you make a contribution at streamlabs.com/The David Pakman Show, instead of through Super Chat, you can still send me a message and it'll come up on screen. And we skip the 30% cut that YouTube takes from Super Chat revenue. So that's an interesting idea, but by all means, feel free to use Super Chat. Super Chat is happening, and many, many other things are, of course, happening. Okay. I want to do some thank yous. Let me do this. I've not done this, and I'm trying to be good. I know people don't like it when we do too much of this, but I do want to do some membership thank yous because there have been, fortunately, several coming in. When you become a member at davidpakman.com/membership, I thank you during the live stream. And that is very exciting to some people and sad to others. Real quick, the D2J Bug has donated through Super Chat, and I wanted to make sure that got on. You go to davidpakman.com/membership, you sign up. If you want a discount, you can put that discount code up on the second page of the sign-up process, and that coupon code is IVoted17. Some of the people who have signed up during the live stream so far: Henry O'Brien, thank you for signing up, Henry, very much appreciate it. Robert Stadnick has become a member. Jennifer Kinsley, or Kinzel, has become a member. Jan de Reuter has become a member. Rob Rome, or Roimi, has become a member. Arnulfo Vargas has become a member. Laurie Kahn has become a member. And Stuart Reeves has upgraded his subscription, which I very, very much appreciate. On the Patreon side, Patreon is a big deal. We're trying to get to 2,000 subscribers. When we get to 3,000, we are launching Patreon-only content. Patreon donations of $5 now unlock access to the world-famous bonus show. Patreon contributions of $10 now unlock not only the bonus show and the behind-the-scenes videos and the members-only newsletter, but also the full daily broadcast show. And a few patrons that I want to thank. Brian Last has just made a pledge of $1. Sean Mahoney has just increased his pledge from $10 to $12 a month. Rodney Stephen Pratt has made a $2 a month pledge. Ann Waring has made a $2 a month pledge. And Michael Kearns has multiplied his pledge tenfold from $1 to $10 per month. And thanks to everybody. Thanks to everybody who did that. Really, really appreciate that. And also thanks to people who are helping us test out this new paradigm of contributions at streamlabs.com/The David Pakman Show. Streamlabs.com/The David Pakman Show. And another contribution under the name Producer Pat of $2. If you don't sign up, David won't buy me vegetables. Yeah, of course, Producer Pat is vegan. And when he doesn't get vegetables, he gets very, very upset. He gets very, very upset, and he doesn't want to be relying on Soylent, as he has talked to us about. So yes, please make contributions so that Pat can get some vegetables. And thanks to Jimmy Smith, who has made a $2 contribution. I appreciate that as well. Thanks very much. Okay. One quick other super chat, and then I want to get into a couple of other things here. The D2J Bug has said needs more Giles theme. You know, there's this really funny thing. I'm just going to test this. I don't know if we can do it. As you probably notice, when people do super chats or donations now, you hear a little audio chime, so to speak. There's an option for that sounds to me a lot like Donald Trump. Sorry, I think I might have accidentally tested a super chat before changing it. Tell me if you like this. I think that this is a little weird, but it might be interesting to people. It's a voice that sounds to me like Donald Trump, and it's almost kind of sexual. I don't know. Let me just save it, and then we'll try it together. If you like this, I'll keep it, okay? So this could be the testing super chat. Does that sound like Trump to anybody else? I don't know. It seems to sound like Trump to me. Yeah. Okay, let me get into some other things. We're clear. Everybody's clearly very, very excited about these new things that are going on. So James Damore is going to be joining me on the program next week. James Damore is the guy who has become quite well known because he was fired by Google. Fired by Google after he criticized the diversity policy of Google. And he's done a bunch of interviews. He was on the Joe Rogan program. He was on Dave Rubin's program. And he tweeted to me saying, I'm a fan of your show and I would like to be on your program. And that was interesting to me. So we are going to be doing a two-part interview with James Damore. If you have questions for James Damore, please write in through our website, or you can tweet me, or submit your questions via Super Chat or at streamlabs.com/The David Pakman Show, whatever. I am not going to be doing an interview that is going to be super similar to what you might have seen on the Dave Rubin program or on the Joe Rogan program. I'm going to be really trying to figure out where it is that he has developed a lot of these ideas, and I think it's going to be an interesting interview, let's put it that way. And he has imposed absolutely no restrictions whatsoever so far on what we can talk about and what I can ask. And I'm looking forward to talking to him. And also, I'm really looking forward to interviewing Elizabeth Kolbert. Elizabeth Kolbert wrote this book, The Sixth Extinction, which was highly recommended by former President Barack Obama, a guy that lots of us remember at this point. And I am really looking forward to talking to her. The idea is, generally speaking, that there have been 5 major extinctions on the planet, and that we are arguably, debatably, in the middle of the 6th major extinction right now. And of course, even extinctions that happen quickly, based on the lifetime, the longevity of the average human, and even how long we've had sort of modern record keeping, it can be hard to tell that we are in this extinction. So we're going to be speaking with Elizabeth Kolbert. Her book is absolutely brilliant. I read it not long ago, and she's going to be on the program, and we've got a lot of really, really great stuff coming up. So I think that it's going to be a good couple of weeks on the program. And then you might have noticed that during the August vacation, we put out a bunch of long-form videos, and then there haven't been any new ones on YouTube for a while, even though we have been using them on the broadcast program. We have been working on a really, really complicated long-form video about race and IQ. And we're going to be coming at this from all angles. We are going to address that recent episode about the bell curve on Sam Harris's podcast, which has caused a lot of contributions, but we are also going to be digging into many, many other aspects of that, and that is upcoming. I can't tell you exactly when yet, but it's going to be really, really good. Okay, Jacob Ball has sent a $2 super chat. You're making super chats great again, David. Thank you. I'm doing my best. Also, a couple of new, or one new contribution at streamlabs.com/The David Pakman Show. From Christina, who has made a $1 contribution saying, I want to make the Mario move. Right. Yeah, people now, hey, if you're just contributing to get the animation to play, that's fine. I've got a long list of animations. It's going to be a while before we get through all of the animations, and I have no other new animations for you. So by all means, keep it going. Okay. So what else will we be talking about on tomorrow's program? We're obviously going to do a full breakdown of Bernie Sanders' healthcare, Medicare for All 2017 bill. I'm going to be talking about this pharma CEO, and I mentioned this earlier tonight in the stream, the pharma CEO who is worried that there is going to be significant energy behind Bernie's proposal or a similar one. I also, this has slipped by without much attention in a lot of media outlets because so much else is going on. But during a recent press briefing, I think it was yesterday or maybe the day before, White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders said that the Justice Department should look at prosecuting fired former FBI Director James Comey. And I believe, although I've bookmarked it, I haven't read it in detail yet, I believe she even might have said that the White House is looking at what specific charges they might recommend the Justice Department explore, which of course is not at all the role of the White House full stop, right? I mean, just you don't have to add anything. So we're going to be talking about that. And I'm also going to be doing an update about that vendor, that immigrant vendor from UC Berkeley who was not only ticketed for selling hot dogs from a little cart without a license, but he also had his money seized. Over $70,000 have now been raised. And it is a very interesting story. And I've been in contact actually via Facebook with Martin Flores, who is the guy that filmed that incident that we told you about on Monday. And it is a very interesting story that I am looking forward to updating tomorrow. And if we have time, I really want to do a thorough job with the Bernie healthcare bill. So I don't know how much we'll have time for tomorrow because we've already got a bunch of stories that I mentioned. But Brian Kilmeade of Fox and Friends and Fox News Radio fame says that Americans are no longer pure because we keep marrying other species. I thought it was just Homo sapiens marrying Homo sapiens, but apparently I guess he was maybe talking about race or not. Who knows what he was talking about? It's ludicrous no matter what he was saying. But he said Americans aren't pure because Americans keep marrying other species. And we will find out maybe what species he's talking about. I don't know. Very, very strange. Incredibly strange stuff. Super chat. $10 super chat from 280Z Turbo. Single payer isn't free, but neither is your current healthcare. Employers don't give out healthcare from the goodness of their hearts. Democrats should talk more about cost savings, less about morality. Yeah, I'm actually, if I may, 280Z Turbo, you're making a very interesting point that I also would like to address tomorrow, which is you don't need to make a morality argument. 280Z Turbo. You don't need to make a morality argument for Democrats. Democrats are already going to support a bill like what we saw proposed by Bernie Sanders on the merits. They basically get it, right? So it does make sense to think about how you should explain this to the right or to the middle or to the other side or libertarians or whoever. And I think that talking about, as Jacob Ball said earlier, which I'll address tomorrow on the show, frame this as one of the biggest reductions to healthcare premiums, even accounting for what you will be paying in taxes in the history of modern for-profit insurance-connected, for-profit employer-connected health insurance. So yeah, I think that that's absolutely a great idea. Dylan Collett has sent a $2 super chat. What's your favorite drumming rudiment and why? Yeah, so you might have noticed, and other people have, that I have over here. This is I think it's a 4-inch snare drum. And because I live in an apartment and I've got neighbors there and over there, I can't really play loud drums. So I actually have a series of 3 practice pads on top of it to deaden the sound. And with those, I can still have the snares on. And it's not super loud. I would say my favorite rudiments are, I like the double paradiddle because you can interpret it both in 4/4 time and in 12/8 or 6/8 or some other time signature, even in 3/4 actually, interestingly enough, and you can sort of overlay it in different ways on different time signatures. So I like the double paradiddle, and I'm also a fan of the not the flam tap, but it's the flam 2-3, flam 2-3. I forget what it's called. Not the flam tap, but the flam. It's like a flam triplet. I forget what that one's called. But yeah, that's another good one that I like for warm-ups anyway. So boring to non-drummers, but yeah. Jacob Ball has sent a $2 super chat. If super chats were a species, I'd marry them. All right, Jacob Ball, very, very excited. I have we're getting a sort of normal number of super chats, but it seems like people are really liking the animation that plays. Now, what I'm not understanding is there's supposed to be a sound that plays when there's a super chat animation. Can people tell me in the chat whether they're hearing the sound? Because I'm not sure if you are. I'll put the chat overlay on just for a moment. Are people hearing the sound when there are donations? Double paradiddle sounds sexual. There's no sound, says Joseph Zinga. Talk more about Bernie, no sound, not hearing any sound. That is interesting. That is actually a surprise to me. because there is a sound that is that's configured. I wonder why people aren't hearing it. I'm hearing it. Is the sound maybe not coming through? I don't know. I don't see anything that indicates why you would not have sound on that. Okay, listen, here, if anybody is familiar with Streamlabs, which we're now using, please contact me after the stream with 2 tips. 1, why might people not be hearing the sound associated with the donation and super chat animations? Oh, someone says they did get sound. A bunch of people are saying they're hearing the sound. Didn't hear the sound sample earlier. Wow. Okay, if someone can help me sort that out, please do. Also, if someone can tell me how I can put the donations and super chat messages overlaid, that would also be really appreciated, because I like to do those 2 things. I think it'll increase audience engagement. And on that note, Clarth1234 did send a donation that I want to get to, a $2 donation through streamlabs.com/The David Pakman Show. Who lost more money from Google recently, James Damore or David Pakman? That's a good question. That's a good question. I mean, you know, this is pretty bad. I don't know how much James Damore was being paid by Google. So I couldn't tell you who lost more with what's going on with demonetization. But I can tell you, we lost enough that the New York Times found it worthwhile to write about, and a really great article by Amanda Hess that's available on our website on the press page. Also a really great article in Wired that is available by Davey Alba on our website, and very, very well-written articles. Okay, let me get caught up on thank yous, and then I will not do any more until the end of the stream. Of course, you can sign up for membership, davidpakman.com/membership. Coupon code saves you 40%. I voted 17 is the coupon code. Members get the commercial-free all-access pass. They get the bonus show. They get invites to members-only live streams. They get the behind-the-scenes videos. They get the members-only monthly update. A lot of very exciting stuff going on for members. I want to send a big thank you to Jordan Force. Jordan Force has just, that's a good name. Jordan Force is kind of like Max Power. Not sure if anybody remembers that Simpsons episode, but Jordan Force is a very strong name. Thanks to Jordan for signing up. I want to welcome back to membership Christopher, or actually, I don't know if this is a new member. It's a very similar name to someone that used to be a member. Anyway, Christopher Tandberg, thank you for signing up at davidpakman.com/membership. Craig Chambers, I also want to thank for signing up at davidpakman.com/membership. And sadly, Patreon is a little sad tonight. I've only had a handful of contributions through Patreon, and no new ones to mention right now. So that's sad. That is really, really sad. So please continue to make those contributions at patreon.com/David Pakman Show. Thanks to Jamal Swift, who made a $10 contribution through Super Chat. Oh, you know what? I don't know if I'm supposed to be saying people's names, because now I'm realizing that I should be saying 280Z Turbo. No, I'm not. Jamal Swift actually did make a contribution. Okay, I see. Things are just on a delay here. Jamal Swift, $10. What is your opinion on Colin Kaepernick? Okay, I don't do a lot of sports commentary, mostly not because I don't care about sports, but because the audience seems to really not like it when I do sports commentary. I, number one, believe there is nothing problematic about Colin Kaepernick protesting by not standing during the national anthem. And it is unintelligible to me how there can be people who say they simultaneously criticize political correctness because they believe it is sort of a forced normative infrastructure, while at the same time saying everybody needs to stand when the national anthem is sung. It's the same type of thing. It's not political correctness. They call it patriotism. They call it respect for country, whatever. But it's the same type of forced normative standards. So if you are worried about the PC police and you think Colin Kaepernick shouldn't be sitting or kneeling during the national anthem, you've got to figure out your priorities, okay? So politically, I have no problem with what he's doing whatsoever. Beyond that, I think he's a fine quarterback. I think he showed last week that he's certainly a better quarterback than some starting quarterbacks in the NFL. Although, beyond that, I couldn't really say much. I really mostly just follow the Patriots. All right. Christina making a $1 contribution at streamlabs.com/David Pakman Show. How often do you open your window shades, or do you usually leave them closed? Yeah, these are basically always closed because you don't want to know what's on the other side of those window shades. Maybe if we ever get to 5,000 Patreon contributors, I will show you what's beyond those window shades, but it is grim. Let me put it that way. It is very, very grim, and I've got very serious and specific reasons why those window shades are not opened. It would be a scary thing. It would be a very, very scary thing. Okay, let me do something I've not had time to do between the super chats and the donations and the contributions and all the different stuff, which is take a look through the regular chat for questions and answer some of those. Where is Pat? Pat has his own place. For the time being, we're maintaining separate apartments. So Pat has his own place. David, do you teach so you can put more money into the show by taking a smaller paycheck from its budget? No, that's not why I teach. I teach because I've always been interested in teaching, and it's a totally different experience, and I'm really enjoying it. What is Super Male Vitality? Somebody asks. That is a supplement sold by Alex Jones. Okay. People talking about the sound. People talking about Mario. People telling me that I don't have the sound connected correctly. Why has socialism failed in Vietnam? Check out our long-form piece about socialism. Let's see what else we've got here. Technically, both James Damore and David Pakman have been fired by Google. In a sense. Somebody alleging clickbait, that I'd be talking about the healthcare bill based on the title. We did. We talked about it for a half hour. We'll talk about it again tomorrow. Now I'm answering audience questions. You can at any time rewind and go back to the beginning of the live stream. David, what are your thoughts on PewDiePie saying the N-word? I believe that it has only made the demonetization problem worse. So if you thought that this was bad, the David Pakman Show losing 85 to 88% of our revenue, the fact that such a prominent YouTuber has now made headlines because he used the N-word seemingly pretty damn casually during a stream of him playing a video game, it's not going to be good for anybody who's on YouTube, which is, we've basically written off YouTube as a revenue source at this point. And we are trying to make up the money else how, I guess I would say, in other ways. Okay, let's see what other questions we've got here in the regular chat. Always want to go through and see what people are talking about. Is it just me, or is the video going total potato now? Yeah, I don't know what happened, but most people seem to think the video was okay. How much pushback will there be from the insurance companies to Bernie's proposal? It's going to depend on how much of a risk they think it is that it might actually pass, right? That's really what it's going to come down to. Okay. People talking about, is there sound? Is there no sound? Have I talked to Lewis about Twitch streaming? I have not. I have not broached that subject with Lewis at this point. Okay. And I think those are most of the questions there. Yeah, I'm not seeing anybody else. When will an alternative to YouTube be available? You know, the thing is, there's plenty of alternatives to YouTube already. The problem is they don't have the audience YouTube has. So even with demonetization, what we're trying to do, and it's possible YouTube will crack down on this, is to use the audience and platform that we have on YouTube to talk about the YouTube funding issue that we're having, and thus try to generate contributions and revenue sources elsewhere. I mean, that's the general idea, and it's not. It's certainly no panacea. And I think that's evident from the fact that we've had to continue fundraising and that's just what's going on. It's the reality. Okay, let me. What else? I had a couple other things I wanted to do. So people mentioning the hair thing. Yeah, when we get to 2,000 patrons at patreon.com/David Pakman Show, this is the infamous picture, and I posted this to my Instagram account a couple months ago. I said, when we get to 2,000 patrons at patreon.com/David Pakman Show, I will do an entire stream, an entire broadcast show at the David Pakman Show studios with my hair like this. And it'll be quite a show, that I can assure you. And we are close. We are over 1,900. And so that's the hair thing that people were asking about. What else were people asking about that I wanted to comment on? Other long-form pieces that we have in the works? Yeah, let me talk to you about that. So I mentioned earlier in the stream that we are very actively working on a long-form piece on... Where is my list? I'm not finding my list of long-form... Oh, here it is. Long-form video ideas. So we're working on race and IQ, right? The connection between race and IQ, the controversy over race and IQ, etc., etc. That we're working on. I want to do a cryptocurrency explainer. Cryptocurrency is becoming a pretty major thing, and I've been experimenting with it on a very small level, on a laughably small level, I would say. And a lot of people don't understand cryptocurrency, and the three big ones are Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin. So I think doing a long-form piece on not only how cryptocurrency works, but also the impact it could have on major currencies like the dollar, if it were to grow significantly, and how these alternative currency markets work, I think that would be really, really interesting. We still have this critical thinking mini-series that I am trying to finalize, and hopefully soon we will have in sort of production, I guess I would call it, although some of the production has already been done. I want to do... Here's an idea. I haven't even mentioned this, but since we're chatting among friends, I will mention it. I thought it would be interesting. You know how people often make comparisons to Nazis and Hitler? And very often we have to explain, and we have to say, no, that's not really like the Nazis or Hitler. Sort of a Godwin's Law video where we could say, when can we start saying this, that, or the other thing are like the Nazis or Hitler? In other words, what principles could we look at that are a little more broad than just, oh, well, you're killing Jews, to say this actually is becoming Nazistic? I think that would be interesting. And along those lines, I had this other idea I made a note of, how white nationalism becomes normalized and how it has become normalized, right? And we've seen that happen. Thanks, Jacob, for the $2 super chat. I appreciate that. We'll get to the message in a bit. We've seen it sort of happen with Trump, actually, which is first these sort of thinly veiled appeals that serve as coded language to white supremacists and white nationalists, and then the idea of a white identity as being just another type of identity, and why would we be against that, and sort of the process that we've seen of the normalization of white supremacy and white nationalism. I think particularly in light of the Bernie Sanders proposal today, we're going to do an analysis of the bill in detail tomorrow, but I think a long-form piece that would look more into why we don't have national health care to begin with. There's a really interesting story that Wendell Potter, former Cigna executive, tells in his book Deadly Spin. I've interviewed him about it. You can check it out on our YouTube channel in the archives. There's a long story to be told about why we don't have national health care, nationalized health care, and about what that would look like and how it would cost. Thank you for the contribution to Cold War 45, who just donated $20 through Super Chat. We'll get to your message shortly. So that's another long-form piece that I'm looking at. And also, this was suggested on the last stream, the war on drugs, really looking at the origins of the war on drugs in some pretty extensive detail, and we all have sort of an intuitive sense about a lot of elements of that, of the war on drugs and the racist components and how it connects to Civil Rights Act of 1964. I think there's a lot there, and we've not really covered that in detail. So I think that's an interesting idea as well. Thanks to Ham Toreno, who has donated $10 through Super Chat, asking about Martin Shkreli going to jail. I will get to that momentarily, okay? Let's jump into the super chat questions because they are coming up here. Jacob Ball has sent a $2 super chat. Hashtag Dogecoin 2020. Is it Doge or Doge? I never know because I only see it written. I guess that's another cryptocurrency, not one I am dabbling in, I can tell you with absolute and total certainty. We will next go to a $5 super chat from Justin Sanchez. Any Ghost has sent a $20 super chat, and I appreciate that. We will get to Any Ghost's question shortly. Justin says, I think you should telethon it up. It was great. It was exciting to meet Patreon goals during the live stream. Naysayers going to naysay and probably not contribute either way. Okay, listen, let's just do this real quick. We've got very little time left in the stream, but the contributions have been coming in via Patreon. We started the evening, I think, at 1,902 patrons. Let's see where we are right now. I'll set like a mini goal just for you, Justin. We're at 1,908 patrons right now. If we get to 1915 by the end of the stream, that's just 7 more patrons. I will knock out for you a 55% membership discount code and then announce it on the stream. Okay, just 7 patrons at patreon.com/David Pakman Show, and one more might have just rolled in. So it's an Insta telethon just for you, Justin. Cold War 45 sent a $20 super chat. Talk to Ben from Drunken Peasants. He can help with Streamlabs. They use Streamlabs on their show all the time, and they have the voice, and it works fine. Okay. Ben from Drunken Peasants. I don't have a direct contact to Ben from Drunken Peasants. When I was on, producer Pat, vegan producer Pat, actually lined up that interview. Okay, Ham Terreno, $10 super chat. Did you hear the news about Martin Shkreli going to jail for putting a bounty on a lock of Hillary Clinton's hair? I did hear about it, and I did not... Shkreli Clinton hair jail. I did not bookmark the article for tomorrow's program, but I am pulling up the New York Times article on it. The particular picture, by the way, that the New York Times is using of Martin Shkreli, he looks a lot like J.D. Harmeyer from the Howard Stern Show in this particular picture. I will check into that. Okay, let me do a couple more of these super chats, but I should also just double check who's contributed at streamlabs.com/The David Pakman Show. This is new. If you contribute at streamlabs.com/The David Pakman Show, you will forego the cut of your super chat that YouTube takes. Okay, Christina sent another $1 super chat. Christina, I kind of like the questions from Christina. They're very domestic and mundane. But they're very specific also, and it's great to have specific questions. Christina said, do you have a washer and dryer, or do you need to go to a laundromat? No, I have a washer and dryer, and I'm able to do all forms of laundry, including linens, towels, and bath mats right here in my apartment. It's a wonderful thing. Clarth1234 also sent a $2 Streamlab contribution saying, David, don't listen to that telethon cuck. It's too late. I made the telethon challenge of 1,915 patrons at patreon.com/David Pakman Show. And if we meet that goal by the end of the stream, I will launch for you a 55% membership discount code. I'm sorry, Clarth. I didn't know that you were opposed to it. Any Ghost has sent a $20 super chat. David, I've become obsessed with the idea of cross-pollination between political YouTubers. I'd love to see you on, say, Steven Crowder's show, because if you bust the echo chambers, you'd eat them alive and convert some folks. I would be glad to be on with Steven Crowder as long as we had, an agreed-upon topic. I don't want to be sandbagged. But yeah, I've been talking at the Boston College class that I'm teaching about filter bubbles and echo chambers, etc. And I think that's a really interesting idea. I'd be glad to be on with Steven. I don't know that he wants me on. Dumbass Loser has sent a $2 super chat. What percentage of books do you read fiction versus nonfiction? It's pretty close to 50-50. Maybe I'm getting through... No, I think it's pretty much 50-50. I usually have 1 or 2 fiction books that I'm reading simultaneously. I read fiction at night. I found that I always had an instinct that reading nonfiction at night was the opposite of relaxing. Like, I'll start falling asleep while I'm reading fiction at night, but reading nonfiction is not good at night. And Tim Ferriss said, I'm not like a big Tim Ferriss guy, but I caught one video he did. He says that reading nonfiction engages the problem-solving sort of functions of the mind, and that's why reading nonfiction at night isn't the best thing. Kind of an interesting thing. But I think it's about 50-50. Right now I'm reading 2 nonfiction books. One is called, I think it's called Anxiety of Affluence, by Rachel Sherman. She's going to be on the program, so I'm trying to finish it pretty quickly. Uneasy Street, The Anxieties of Affluence. And then the other one is a book that Bill Gates recommended by Nick Lane. The book is called The Vital Question. The Vital Question by Nick Lane. Very interesting. Very, very interesting book. And as far as fiction, I'm reading a whole bunch of fiction stuff right now, actually. I've got a lot. I actually don't remember the name of the book I'm reading, so I will forego telling you. Any Ghost sent a $2 super chat telling me the G in Dogecoin is soft, David. All right. Singh has sent a $5 super chat. I appreciate that. Sean McGuire sent a $5 super chat. Wish me luck on Saturday's LSAT. Taking the LSAT, the entrance exam for most law schools, although I don't know that every law school is still doing the LSAT thing, but I think for the most part, most of them are. Good luck, Sean. Very, very, I hope you do well, and I think it's an interesting test. Interesting test, a lot of logic in it. Danovic has sent a $5 super chat. What are your thoughts on the Catalonian independence referendum coming up in 18 days? Seems to be very possible according to the polls. Yeah, you know, my dad's wife is from Spain, but from a different region of Spain, not from Catalonia, and I have not really been following it. I've been aware of the Catalonian independence movement as a movement in Spain for a very long time, but I've not been following the polling, so I wouldn't be able to say much about it, although I do find it very, very interesting. All right, let's do some thank yous. I don't know if we're going to make it to our target of 1,915 Patreon contributors. We are 6 away at 1,909. Ryan Henderson has made a $1 a month pledge, and Garth Poulos has made a $2 a month pledge, and the great Derek Busby has made a $10 a month pledge at patreon.com/David Pakman Show. I've got a few minutes left to hang, and then we're going to have to wrap up the stream. But I will tell you that we are 6 patrons away from getting to 1915, and if we do that, I will create, just for you, I won't announce it anywhere, I will create a 55% discount code for membership. And then you'll be able to sign up for membership at a 55% discount. That's more or less how it will work. So if that's interesting to you, please get those contributions in because the live stream is starting to wrap up. Kim Williams, thank you for sending a $5 super chat. Do you ever look into the effect of the opioid crisis panic on health challenges people that use opioid to have the ability to lead a semi-normal life? The effect of the opioid crisis panic on health challenges people. I'm having trouble parsing the question, but I've studied the opioid crisis to some degree. I'm by no means any kind of an expert on it, by no means at all. And I don't know that I'm equipped to answer your question, Kim, specifically. But I will, maybe I'll just Google what you said and see what comes up. I'm just not 100% sure exactly what the question is. Okay, so to sum up, we now have a new system for contributions and questions during the live stream, streamlabs.com/The David Pakman Show. When you make a Streamlabs contribution or you make a super chat contribution, we get an animation that comes up on the screen. It thanks you. It's cool. People seem to like it. So that's an exciting new thing that we've been able to do. We are continuing to stand by to see if we get to 1,915 patrons this evening. We are still 6 away. $6 contributions will do it, but we have only a little bit of time left in the stream. Joseph Zinga has sent a $5 super chat, no question or comment. I'll go through some of the comments and questions in the super chat. Are you on the radio? Says the Mass Gamer. Yes, the David Pakman Show is on around 100 radio stations around the country. I want the bagel with the cream cheese. I don't know if that is a donation that's available on Streamlabs, but I'd be glad to look into that. Somebody asking, do I think the stronger support from Medicare for all from the Democrats will improve their chances in the 2018 election? Great question. I have been suggesting to Democrats, not that they care what I say, for months now, that they take a principled and not compromising position on Medicare for all or single payer. Start with that. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. In fact, it's not going to happen when Trump is president and Republicans control the House and Senate. It's just not. But take a principled position and start the negotiation from there, right? Don't start from a weaker point. Start from a strong point and something that we can really get behind. And I think that would be it's a start, and they're going to need to go beyond just Medicare to really build a platform for 2018 that is independent of we're not Trump. Singh has sent a $2 super chat. Your thoughts on 9/11? Is the government hiding anything? Yeah, most governments hide certain aspects of major disasters of this kind. That is very, very separate from, did Bush plan it? Was it an inside job? Did somebody paint the World Trade Center with thermite paint to make it collapse more quickly? Just because there are probably elements that have been discovered that are being sort of hidden or held back, that's not evidence of a broader conspiracy the way some conspiracy theorists have suggested. I think that's sort of the general idea. Okay. That is going to do it for the live stream. Thanks to everybody who joined me. Thanks to everybody who contributed through the new platforms. Please, let's keep it going. Let's continue building the David Pakman Show. More on the program tomorrow.